Sarmarwati. In the city of Kausambi, there lived a powerful king named Udana, who had two beloved queens, Sarmarwati and Margandeya. But while Sarmarwati was gentle and deeply devoted to the Buddha's teachings, Margandeya harbored bitterness in her heart. Her anger went all the way back to her youth, when her father had tried to arrange a marriage between her and the Buddha himself. But the Buddha, seeing the suffering caused by attachment and desire, refused the proposal. This rejection left Margandeya humiliated and determined to one day seek revenge. Meanwhile, Queen Sarmarwati's story took a different path. She had 500 loyal maidens who lived with her in the palace, but there was one maid in particular, named Kutsutera, who would change Sarmarwati's life forever. Each day, Kutsutera visited the marketplace to buy flowers for the queen. One day, while at the home of the florist, she heard a sermon by the Buddha himself. His words stirred something deep within her, and she attained the first stage of enlightenment, Sotapatti fruition. Eager to share this gift, Kutsutera returned to the palace and recounted the Buddha's teachings to Sarmarwati and her 500 maids, and they, too, felt the Buddha's teachings change their hearts. Soon, Kutsutera became more than a maid to them, she was their teacher. Each day, she listened to the Buddha's words, returning to teach Sarmarwati and the other women all she had learned. Although they longed to see the Buddha in person, Sarmarwati and her maids worried the king might disapprove of their devotion. So, they found a solution, making small holes in the palace walls. They would bow to the Buddha each day as he passed by on his daily alms rounds. But Margandeya soon discovered what they were doing. Jealous and full of anger, she told King Udana that Sarmarwati and her maids were plotting against him, conspiring with outsiders through the holes in the wall. The king was troubled but chose not to act on her accusation. Margandeya, however, did not give up so easily. She devised a cunning plan. One day, knowing that the king would soon visit Sarmarwati with his lute, she secretly hid a snake inside the instrument and blocked its exit with flowers. When Udana arrived at Sarmarwati's quarters, Margandeya slyly removed the flowers, and the snake slithered out. Horrified, Udana believed that Sarmarwati had attempted to assassinate him. Enraged, he took aim with his bow, fitting it with an arrow poisoned and ready to strike. But Sarmarwati and her attendants, full of love and compassion, focused their thoughts on kindness and goodwill. Their metta, their loving kindness, was so powerful that the arrow turned away, sparing them all. In that moment, Udana realized Sarmarwati's innocence and her deep compassion. He offered her the chance to invite the Buddha and his monks to the palace for alms. Once again, Margandeya's plan was foiled, but her hatred burned brighter. She arranged for her uncle to set fire to Sarmarwati's quarters, sealing all the exits. As the flames consumed the room, Sarmarwati and her 500 attendants remained calm, their minds focused on meditation. Some reached the second stage of enlightenment, while others attained even higher states, freed from the bonds of rebirth. When news of the fire reached the king, he was devastated and immediately suspected Margandeya. Hiding his anger, he spoke to her sweetly, pretending he was finally at peace. Margandeya, confident in her victory, openly confessed her role in the fire. In her vanity, she even gathered her family to celebrate. But instead, King Udana had them all arrested and punished, thus putting an end to Margandeya's cruelty. When the Buddha learned of the tragedy, he spoke these words: "Mindfulness is the path to the deathless. Unmindfulness is the path to death. The mindful do not die. The unmindful are as if already dead." Fully comprehending this, the wise, who are mindful, rejoice in being mindful and find delight in the domain of the noble ones, Aryas. The wise, constantly cultivating tranquility and insight development practice, being ever mindful and steadfastly striving, realize Nibbana, which is free from the bonds of yoga, Nibbana, the incomparable. The Buddha's teaching reminded everyone that mindfulness brings freedom, while heedlessness traps us in suffering. Through their unwavering focus and compassion, Sarmarwati and her maids reached spiritual liberation, leaving behind the cycle of suffering. And so, they became an eternal reminder of the strength of love, mindfulness, and the power to overcome even the darkest of flames. The story encourages us to cultivate mindfulness, compassion, and resilience in the face of adversity. It shows that inner peace and kindness are more powerful than anger or revenge. Even when facing danger or suffering, Sarmarwati and her attendants remained steady in their commitment to loving kindness, metta, and mindfulness, which ultimately led them to spiritual freedom. That is for now. See you in the next story.